Peace, peace, peace. I said I'd come back with part two because tomorrow I wanted to go with Princella on Sonetas. You guys know we did a review of her a couple weeks ago on Women's Work Wednesday. 2 weeks in a row, we were supposed to get back to it, and we will definitely try and do that tomorrow. But let's continue and go from here. No one's in the chat right now, but whoever comes in, peace and bliss.
No. Many of the moguls divorced their Jewish first wives and married Gentiles, younger, more socially acceptable women.
The whole notion that Hollywood pins itself on is intermarriage. The whole idea of inter-ethnic romance. Now, why do they do that? First of all, because love is a very democratic ideal. It knows no borders, it knows not riches, it knows not tradition, it knows simply the matters of the heart. In addition to that, when a Jew can marry a non-Jew, particularly part of the establishment culture, that's really a wonderful indication of how far up into society Jews have come.
This is where a producer lives. Not just any producer, but one of the most famous of them all, Samuel Goldwyn, high up on one of Beverly's hills.
Good morning.
Well, here is Mr. and Mrs. Samuel Goldwyn. And do you mind if I call you Francis and Sam?
I like that very much.
Sam, I understand that while you're the boss in the studio, that there's
This is the boss here.
It's her house, isn't it?
Every bit of it.
Let's talk to Francis then. How long have you lived here?
Oh, it's so long. 25, 26 years.
Sam, how'd you happen to pick this hilltop site out? Because of the view?
She picked it out.
And you bought it?
She liked it. The idea is to have her like it. That's all that's necessary for me.
It's fun to live in Beverly, isn't it?
We like Beverly very much.
And we're delighted you're both citizens of our town.
Tickets for two, you mean for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Where you all going?
Hollywood! Hollywood!
When Jews came to America, it wasn't only Mayflower wasps who seemed to embody America to them. American blacks were quintessential Americans. I mean, that was one of the things that made America America, the presence of black people. And the indigenous African-American culture was of tremendous interest. I mean, the music, the dancing, the popular styles, and so on.
The Hollywood Jews may have wanted to marry into white America, but when it came to music, Jewish composers looked to black America. Harold Arlen, the son of a liturgical singer or cantor, became one of the foremost popularizers of the blues.
Stormy weather, since my man and I ain't together, keeps raining all the time.
Jews served as messengers, in essence, of black culture. They took it, they consumed it, they integrated it into their own cultural repertoire, and then introduced it to white America that was essentially willing to listen to Jews and to partake of what Jews had to offer in a way that they never would from blacks.
First on Broadway, and later in the Hollywood musical, this was the way Jewish music often sounded.
Lost his way, but now he's coming back to stay. I tell
In writing lyrics, they turned to their Jewish immigrant concerns, of people needing to belong somewhere, needing some kind of redemption through America. The Jews took these themes, but instead of putting them to Jewish music, they borrowed black forms that they saw as authentically American. In a sense, they wrote music in blackface.
Shepherd told him through the door, and he saved him.
From the beginning, though they indulged in stereotypes, the Hollywood moguls took a different view of African Americans than that of the pre-Jewish filmmakers. Birth of a Nation had played on the white fear of the mixing of the races. In dramatic contrast, in the film Showboat, the white male lead literally internalizes the blood of his black wife.
What are you doing with that knife? I'm not going to hurt her, you fool. Leave me be. I know what I'm doing. It won't hurt much, darling.
The Hollywood Jews wanted to be accepted as Americans. Their films advocated assimilation, not just for Jews, but for everyone. They believed that if you were prepared to pay the price and shed your identity, then America should be prepared to accept you.
I have an unpleasant duty. I understand that you have a miscegenation case on board.
What's the name, Mom?
How's that? Case of a Negro woman married to a white man. A criminal offense in this state.
No such thing on board this boat.
The name of the white man is Steve Baker. The name of the negress is Julie Dozier.
You wouldn't call a man a white man that had Negro blood in him, would you?
No, I wouldn't. Not in Mississippi. One drop of Negro blood makes you a Negro in these parts.
Well, I got more than a drop of Negro blood in me, and that's a fact. What's the trouble, man?
In Hollywood, Jews trying to pass as Gentiles made films about blacks passing as whites. In Pinky, we see just how precarious that strategy is. For the outsider, things can turn in an instant.
What about her, ma'am? Now, if she even so much as thought of threatening you, we want to know about it. Or if she give you any of her impudence. Shut up, girl.
Oh, excuse me, sir, but why are you two white men mamming her? She's nothing but a low-down colored gal. I tried to steal my man.
You heard what she said. He's got to slap her down. Unless it's true.
Yes, it's true. I'm colored. My grandmother's Mrs. Dicey Johnson.
Mrs. Dicey Johnson. Wow, to slap them both down, Chief. Now, hold it.
Well, I'll be going now.
Go. You ain't going anywhere till I tell you. Get in that car.
You mean I'm under arrest?
What do you think?
On what charges are you holding?
You heard what I said. Get in that car.
One of the things that made American films so exportable is that anyone, anywhere could identify with so many of the themes of American movies. One of which was the idea of the outsider, which was a Jewish theme. Jews being outsiders, making films about outsiders. You see this even in monster pictures. I mean, King Kong. There's a film about, an outsider. And yet it's the monster, if you want to call King Kong that, with whom the audience sympathizes.
In Hollywood, every outsider could be transformed into an insider. Even in appearance, Carl Laemmle was an outsider. He resembled an elf. Not surprisingly, Universal's films often championed marginal beings who were persecuted like the Jews of Europe. At Warner Brothers, the Jewish sensibility expressed itself by an identification with the little guy. The prize fighters and the losers, the loners and the gangsters. At Harry Cohn's Columbia, the emphasis was not on the outsider, but on the common man. Here, the street-smart Clark Gable lectures the upper classes, represented by Claudette Colbert.
You're in a jam, and all you can think of is your money. It never fails, does it? Ever hear of the word humility? No, you wouldn't. I guess it never occurred to you to just say, "Please, mister, I'm in trouble. Will you help me?" No, that'd bring you down off your high horse for a minute. Well, let me tell you something. Maybe it'll take a load off your mind. You don't have to worry about me. I'm not interested in your money or your problem. You, King Wesley, your father, you're all a lot of hooey to me.
Zucker's Paramount didn't put down the rich. Instead, the studio whisked audiences into a once inaccessible universe of sophistication and luxury.
Et si le soleil veut bouder, qu'est-ce que vous voulez que ça puisse m'exciter? Moi je trouve tout très très bien. Si les plumes pendaient et que les taureaux donnent du lait, qu'est-ce que vous voulez que ça puisse m'épater? Moi je trouve tout très très bien.
When it came to class for the masses, nobody outdid Louis B. Mayer's MGM. Everything glittered with quality and style, reflecting the vision of the man at the helm.
Mr. Mayer was very persuasive. It's about the only word I could use. And so he'd stand there and he'd watch what was going on and he'd say, "No, just wait a minute, stop that." He says, "That's not the way to do it. I'll show you how it should be done." And he'd really go through the scene very well. It was everybody, and they never knew when he was going to walk in on them. They were very, very leery of him, the directors, because they never knew when Louis was going to walk down there and say, "No, that's not the way I want it." See, he was a perfectionist. He knew what he wanted, and money was no object. At Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, price meant nothing. It was to be the best.
In creating the great movie musical, Hollywood adapted the Broadway musical, an original American art form almost wholly created by fellow immigrant Jews. The music and lyrics were often based on classic stories, reinterpreted from a Jewish perspective.
Almost all of the writing pairs that have come to epitomize Broadway have been Jewish, whether it's Lerner and Lowe and Rodgers and Hammerstein, Jerome Kern. Almost all of them have been Jewish, with the exception, I think, of Cole Porter, really, here. And if you look at their plays, none of them, with the exception of Fiddler on the Roof, are about overtly Jewish themes, but all of them are about overtly Jewish concerns. So take a play like My Fair Lady. That's really about fitting in.
Again.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
I think she's got it. I think she's got it.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
By George, she's got it. By George, she's got it. Now once again, where does it rain?
On the plain.
She's an immigrant into that culture, that upper middle class culture. She needs to learn how to talk, something immigrants are very concerned with. She needs to know how to dress. She needs to know the codes and conventions of society.
Bravo!
Irving Berlin did more than any composer to Americanize Jewish aspirations.
Someday I'm going to murder the bugler. Someday they're going to find him dead.
To understand Berlin is to understand the Hollywood moguls. Another cantor's son, he started life in the midst of pogroms.
My life in bed.
Oh, how I hate to get up in the morning. Oh, how I love to remain in bed.
Berlin was a Russian immigrant who would go on to write the quintessential American songs. He's a kind of Cyrano de Bergerac. In the foreground is Fred Astaire, the embodiment of American aristocracy, full of grace and upperclassmanship.
Cause I'm invited to step out this evening, top hat, white tie, and tails. Oh, I'm putting on the top hat, tying up my white tie, brushing off my tails. I'm duding up my shirt front, putting in the shirt studs, polishing my nails. I'm stepping out, my dear, to breathe an atmosphere that simply reeks with class. And I trust that you'll excuse my dust when I step on the gas.
In the background, the person writing the music and the lyrics is this little Jewish guy. For over 60 years, he tried to reinvent himself. In the process, he infused life into a whole new American ideal.
In the White House, President Eisenhower signs a bill authorizing a gold medal for composer Irving Berlin. It honors him for writing God Bless America and other patriotic songs. For Irving Berlin, this marks another milestone in his rise from humble beginnings to a place of highest esteem the world over.
I don't know if anything could possibly have happened that touches me as deeply as this medal. God Bless America isn't just a song that I wrote, but it expresses my gratitude for the opportunities and the freedom to write that song and to the country that inspired it. Thank you very much.
Along with the unofficial anthem of the United States, Irving Berlin wrote the American classics Easter Parade and that most Jewish of Yuletide fantasies, White Christmas.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas with every Christmas card I buy. May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be
Louis B. Mayer not only celebrated Christmas, he appropriated America's birthday as his own. Mayer claimed that he couldn't remember his real birthday, so he celebrated it on the 4th of July.
When I think of Grandpa, I think of these amazing events that were held every year that I was privileged to attend. Patriotism was an important theme in his life, and so he selected Independence Day as his birthday. And in the studio commissary, every star under contract was not only invited, but virtually obliged to show up. And these extraordinary events, which, as I began to become educated and read about European royalty, seemed to me, in retrospect, more and more like events held by heads of state. He wrapped himself in the American flag and said, "That's me."
I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy, Yankee Doodle do or die. A real live nephew of my Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July. I've got a Yankee Doodle sweetheart, she's my Yankee Doodle joy. Yankee Doodle came to London just to ride the ponies. I am that Yankee Doodle boy.
In Hollywood, they joked that the moguls went from Poland to polo in just one generation. They held Easter egg hunts and Christmas parties. Some of them sent their children to Catholic schools. Their efforts to reinvent themselves seemed boundless. They even hid their Jewishness from their children and grandchildren.
I didn't know I was Jewish till I was at least 7, I think. As I remember, we were in Scarsdale, and I was going to public school, and my mother said, "In case somebody asks you what your religion is, you're Jewish." And I said, "Okay," I don't think I even asked, "Well, what's that?"
I was brought up by Catholic governesses who took me to the Catholic churches, and I learned prayers in French, and I wore a cross.
And did you become Catholic?
No, it's just that I didn't know anything about the Jewish religion. I didn't know what it was.
I realized that my father had never told me anecdotes about the old country, that I didn't even know what his real name was. I didn't know the little village that he came from. I knew nothing about his life. And I realized that the name Warner was probably not correct, but I thought being Polish, it might have been Werner. To this day, I really don't know what our original name was.
Often the first thing to go was the Jewish name. The Hollywood Jews were obsessed with erasing anything Jewish in their films, their lives, and the lives of their stars.
Do you know what her name is? Esther Victoria Blodgett.
Hey, we'll have to do something about that right away. Let's see, Esther Victoria, Vicky. How about Vicky?
Oh, I think that's terribly cute.
Let's see, Vicky. Vicky what?
Vicky, pronounced Vicky.
See, Esther, Hester, Dester, Lester. Vicky Lester.
Oh, I like that.
Say it.
Vicky Lester.
Say it again.
Vicky Lester.
Say it again.
Vicky Lester.
Say it.
Vicky Lester.
Say Vicky Lester. Vicky Lester.
Vicky Lester.
Vicky Lester.
Vicky Lester.
Theodosia Goodman became Theda Bara. Sophia Kosso became Sylvia Sidney. Isser Danielovich Dembski became Kirk Douglas. Leo Jacobi became Lee J. Cobb. Shirley Shrift became Shelley Winters. Bernard Schwartz became Tony Curtis. David Kaminsky became Danny Kaye. Edward Iskevitz became Eddie Cantor. Melvin Hesselberg became Melvin Douglas. Muni Wiesenfreund, a star of the Yiddish Theater, became Paul Muni. Emmanuel Goldenberg became Edward G. Robinson. The G was a reminder of who he really was. Nice Jewish girls, such as Lily Palmer, Julie Holliday, and Lauren Bacall, or Betty Persky, helped to define the American woman. Not all the Jewish talent went to Hollywood to assimilate. There were over 50 non-Hollywood Yiddish films produced in New York before the Second World War.
Travel, wird Hecher breite. Da lebt das Theatersachen bei, es helft kein Wein, kein Geschrei. Travel hat größer in der Kleine. A jeder dreht sich an den Kuhn.
These films were the flip side of the Hollywood movies. They parodied Hollywood's optimism and Fred Astaire's top hat gentility. Many who could have gone to Hollywood stayed in New York to make films that expressed their Jewish identity.
These films were shown to an audience which was almost entirely made up of immigrants and sometimes the children of immigrants. And these films, by and large, had a very, very different point of view than Hollywood movies. I mean, the Yiddish movies were kind of fighting a rearguard action to protect certain forms of Jewish cultural expression against the sort of overwhelming, seductive power of the larger American culture.
In this classic of Yiddish cinema, a great cantor, played by Moshe Oisher, is drawn into the secular world of opera.
What the hell?
On the night of his operatic debut, he learns of his son's death. Unable to perform, he returns to a synagogue to lead the high holiday prayers. Heartbroken, he dies. Here the attempt to reconcile Jewish and secular worlds ends tragically.
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet. Wait a minute, I tell you. You ain't heard nothing. Goodbye. Don't cry.
Warner Brothers' The Jazz Singer was a revolutionary silent film that broke into sound with each musical number. Here, as in the Yiddish film, a cantor's son, played by Al Jolson, who was in real life a cantor's son, has to choose between American fame and Jewish loyalty. At first, the cantor's son seems to choose Judaism. But in assimilationist Hollywood, the story could not end there. Hollywood had to have a Hollywood ending.
Marry
Mammy.
Here, Dad and his old Jewish ways are dead, while the hero in American blackface sings triumphantly with his Gentile girlfriend waiting in the wings.
I wanna your smile on my
Where can you?
Again and again in Hollywood films, the old world father is rejected, the mother is idealized, and the rebellious son sails on to glory.
I don't want you to go.
Mom, why can't I go someplace and study to be a doctor?
Oh, Jason, it takes too long, and we haven't any money.
Money? Well, we won't get any richer if I stay here. Pop's a failure, and you know it.
Jason, don't you dare.
There's a boat going up the river tomorrow, and I'm going to take it.
Well, I think America turned out to be what my grandfather imagined it to be. There was no romanticism involved. I mean, you can say it was a romantic idea that a poor guy with $19 sewn in his pocket could found an industry. I mean, that's a very romantic idea, but it turned out to be true. So, in a sense, he was a realist.
Son, dear, feel this.
It's all stiff.
I sewed a few dollars in the lining, in case you need it.
Oh, Mom.
Jason, don't feel unkindly toward your father. Everything he did, everything he's ever done, was meant for your own good.
Oh, please, Mom. Don't cry. Don't cry. Someday I'm coming home with my pockets loaded with money. Honest I will, Mom. You'll see.
All aboard!
We're in the money. We're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. We're in the money. The sky is sunny.
They had left the old world penniless, and in less than 20 years, they had become the highest paid executives in America. In fact, for almost a decade, Mayer was the highest salaried man in the world. At this point, they might have concluded that their transformation from Eastern European Jews into Americans was complete. But history intervened to remind them of their origins. It was difficult for the Moguls to entirely abandon their Jewishness while the Nazis were persecuting their European kin. Some of the Hollywood Jews could not ignore these events. In 1939, a group of stars, including John Garfield, Edward G. Robinson, and their spokesman, Melvin Douglas, risked their celebrity status to speak out against Hitler.
That all economic connections between the United States of America and Nazi Germany be totally severed, until such time as Germany is willing to re-enter the family of nations in accordance with the humane principles of international law.
Though Carl Laemmle was no longer studio head at this time, he joined the protesters and signed their declaration. Both Laemmle and Harry Warner were active in sponsoring Jewish refugees from Europe. And in 1939, Warner made this anti-fascist speech to the American Legion.
Drive them out. Make America unsafe for those who seek to tear down what others have built through the generations since 1776. Drive them from their secret meeting places. Destroy their insidious propaganda machines. Drive out their bunds and their leagues, their clans and black legions, the silver shirts, the black shirts, and the dirty shirts. Help keep America for those who believe in America.
In response to Hollywood's limited anti-fascist stand, former U.S. Ambassador to Britain, Joseph P. Kennedy, flew to Los Angeles. At a secret meeting, he told the Moguls that American Jews would be blamed if the United States were dragged into war with Germany. He warned them to stop agitating against Nazism. The Kennedy meeting had its desired effect.
At the end of the 1930s, as the shadows of war are haunting Europe, the Jews in Hollywood are very much afraid of warning American audiences of those dangers, because it looks as though it's a special Jewish angle. It looks parochial, it looks limited, and therefore it's difficult to make anti-Nazi movies in Hollywood, because the Jews don't want to stand out.
The Jewish fear of standing out was expressed through another icon that would make its way to the screen.
Superman was invented by two Jewish kids in the late 1930s, when there also was a worldwide upsurge in very frightening anti-Semitism. Superman is discovered like Moses in the bulrushes. He's an immigrant from another planet who comes to Earth. He has his identity as a mild-mannered intellectual, but really underneath, he's the man of steel. I think that's a very suggestive Jewish fantasy. It's almost as if he's passing all the time.
While the Jew felt like an alien in America, Superman was a real alien.
This looks like a job for Superman.
Yet incredibly, he is the only superhero who manages to keep his identity secret without wearing a mask. Only Jews could have created a story based on the premise that all one needs is a Gentile demeanor to hide in plain sight.
I bet you recognize him. Why, of course you recognize him. It's Adenoid Hinkle, the Fooey of Tomania.
Like Superman, the Hollywood moguls were unwilling to risk their Gentile disguise. As a result, only 2 anti-Nazi films were made before the war. Charlie Chaplin financed and made the classic film The Great Dictator. Chaplin was neither Jewish nor American, so he didn't share the fears of the Hollywood Jews. Warner Brothers made Confessions of a Nazi Spy only after their Jewish representative in Germany was beaten to death by Hitler's henchmen. Incredibly, this Hollywood film about the dangers of Nazism makes no reference to either Jews or anti-Semitism. All this changed on December the 7th, 1941, with the attack on the U.S. Navy at Pearl Harbor by Hitler's Japanese allies. Now, instead of telling Hollywood to keep quiet, the U.S. government began pushing them to fulfill their duty and make patriotic war movies.
All that noise you hear isn't static. It's death coming to London. Yes, they're coming here now. You can hear the bombs falling on the streets and the homes. Don't tune me out. Hang on a while. This is a big story, and you're part of it. It's too late to do anything here now except stand in the dark and let them come. It's as if the lights were all out everywhere, except in America. Keep those lights burning. Cover them with steel. Ring them with guns. Build a canopy of battleships and bombing planes around them. Hello, America. Hang on to your
It's a wonderful time for the Hollywood Jews. I mean, here were a group of Jews who had spent their lives seeking legitimacy and seeking to be embraced by America. And World War II finally affords them that opportunity to be embraced officially. They are now real patriots.
Will you check with MGM and see if they'll postpone the Hedy Lamarr picture so we can use her for the bond drive? Surely.
RKO just okayed Cary Grant. We'll hear from Paramount later today on Colbert and Dick Powell.
Oh, swell. Double check with Boyer and Abbott and Costello, will you? Right away, yeah. The priority on Irene Dunn has just come through. She'll leave on the 16th. Fine, fine.
The motion picture industry today is supplying without charge all its newest and best feature films to the U.S. War Department Overseas Film Division.
The movies were a tremendous propagandistic tool during this time. They set up camps for the soldiers to come back in where movies were shown 24 hours a day because that impressed the soldiers with what they were fighting for.
It was the beginning of an unprecedented alliance between Washington and Hollywood.
And you swear that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the United States of America. I do.
For the first time, Hollywood's message was adopted by the government. A democratic state could not send minorities, immigrants, and the poor to die for an America which excluded them. So, if the enemies were fascist, the American army had to be portrayed as caring and sharing.
I want you to feel free to ask questions, even embarrassing ones. Come to me with suggestions. We're going to be more than officers and men in this. We're going to be comrades. What I eat, you will eat. Where I sleep, you will sleep. I will take you into my confidence whenever it's possible before going into battle. We'll have a meeting in which I'll explain our plans and objectives so that each of you can make a more intelligent contribution to the result. Afterward, we'll have another meeting to criticize the way in which the operation was conducted. We'll fight and endure and win together.
You would have equal opportunity foxholes. If you go back and look at those movies, there was always one Jewish character who was never presented as Jewish, but he was Cohen or Schwartz from Brooklyn. There was always one black character, too.
Wesley Epps, Private, 3rd Engineer Battalion.
The American Army during the Second World War was not integrated except in Hollywood movies. And the Office of War Information was very eager to keep our enemies from making capital out of any sort of problems in America. So they didn't want movies that had any racial tensions of any sort.
Corporal Jake Feingold, 4th Chemical Company, USA.
While 6 million Jews died in Europe, their kinsmen in Hollywood were churning out patriotic movies that helped galvanize the Allies to defeat Hitler. Jack Warner really believed that his movies helped to win the war. He loved to point out that the chemical ingredients of film were also used to make smokeless gunpowder.
Mr. Warner, through his experience and background in the motion picture industry, impelled by the finest patriotic motives, and on his own initiative, pointed out to the arms and services of the United States forces the use that could be made of the motion picture in the effective prosecution of the war.
Despite appearances to the contrary, events would soon demonstrate that the Hollywood Jews were still fearful immigrants seeking acceptance from Gentile America.
Shortly after the war, the State Department organized a tour of a number of Hollywood executives, most of whom were Jewish, to visit Europe and see the concentration camps.
Mr. Rathbun of RKO, Mr. Barney Balaban of Paramount, Mr. Clifford Work of Universal, Mr. Harry Cohn of Columbia, and Mr. Jack Warner being emphatic at the end of the line.
We have almost no testimony from these Hollywood Jews on their reaction to what they saw. We have no idea, really, of how deeply it impacted them. All we know is that when they returned to the United States, one might think that someone there might have been moved to make some film, or at least some gesture, that would memorialize the 6 million who died. And what is interesting is the absence of any such film or any such gesture. Perhaps it affected them in such a way that, like everything else that's filtered through the Hollywood Jewish consciousness, they felt they could not, they better not, express it.
At the time, only 2 films on anti-Semitism came out of Hollywood. Both were made by non-Jews.
You see, because they made 50 or 60 pictures a year, they always made 4 or 5 what they call prestige pictures. I could go to them and say, look, I've got a thing here that may not make any money, but it's a prestige picture. The critics are going to like it, and the intellectuals are going to like it, and you're going to get a lot of credit for making this kind of a picture because it has something to say. And just as often as not, you could talk them into it, as long as there weren't too many of them. We wanted to make Crossfire, which is the first picture ever made about anti-Semitism. You know, we didn't know whether it was going to make any money or not. We didn't know whether anybody would want to listen to a preachment on anti-Semitism or not, which is why we made a murder mystery out of it. Strangely enough, none of the three of us, the writer, the producer, nor I, none of us was Jewish.
Thomas Finley was killed in 1848 just because he was an Irishman and a Catholic. It happened many times. Maybe that's hard for you to believe, Leroy, but it's true. And last night, Joseph Samuels was killed just because he was a Jew. Do you see any difference, Leroy? Any difference at all? Hating is always the same, always senseless. One day it kills Irish Catholics, the next day Jews, the next day Protestants, the next day Quakers. It's hard to stop. It can end up killing men who wear striped neckties.
There seems to be some mistake because we don't have a free room in the entire hotel. But if you'd like, perhaps I can fix you up at the Brewster Hotel down near the station.
I'm not staying at the Brewster. Look, I'm Jewish, and you don't take Jews. That's it, isn't it?
I never said that.
If you don't accept Jews, say so.
Don't raise your voice to me, Mr. Green. You speak a little more quietly, please.
Do you or don't you?
Mr. Green, I'm a very busy man. Now, if you want me to phone for a cab or room at the Brewster, I'll do so. Otherwise...
Otherwise what?
Gentleman's Agreement centers on the story of a Gentile magazine writer, played by Gregory Peck, who pretends to be a Jew so he can write an expose on anti-Semitism in America. This film was also made by a non-Jew, Darrell F. Zanuck.
There's a very famous scene in there based on a very famous incident in which supposedly the Jewish moguls got together and went to Zanuck, whose studio was producing the film, and said, "We will pay you $1 million to destroy all the prints of this film. This is too incendiary. Let us handle it." And Zanuck said no, immediately went back to his office and wrote that scene in.
Mr. Green is going to do a series on anti-Semitism for us.
Really? Again?
Not again. For the first time. We're going to split it wide open.
Do you mind my saying, as an old friend, I think it a very bad idea, John? The worst, the most harmful thing you can possibly do now.
Not at all. Why is it a harmful idea?
Because it'll only stir it up more. That's why. Let it alone. We'll handle it in our own way.
The hush-hush way?
Oh, I don't care what you call it. Let it alone. You can't write it out of existence. We've been fighting it for years. We know from experience the less talk there is about it, the better.
Sure.
The moguls needn't have worried. Gentleman's Agreement was consistent with Hollywood's ideology.
Now, first of all, the assumption of that film is that anybody can pass for being Jewish, even among other Jews, and I don't think that assumption is very true. In fact, when he decides to take on the identity, he has a good friend, Dave Goldberg, played by John Garfield. He looks in the mirror and he says, dark hair, dark eyes, just like Dave. No telling characteristics, just like Dave. And he passes. He immediately goes out and he passes.
It'll work fine, Phil.
The theme is not you should be nice to Jews, whoever they are, but rather you have to be nice to them because they're just like us. And there's a funny story Moss Hart wrote about. They had screened the film for the people in the crew, and after it was done, one of the members of the crew came up to Hart and he said, "That was an incredibly inspiring film. I really learned a lot." And Hart was very proud of this because he had thought he had taught this lesson of tolerance. And he said, "Well, what have you learned?" And he said, "I should be nice to all Jews because they may turn out to be Gentiles."
Blurring the line between Gentile and Jew was precisely what the moguls wanted. In fact, some of Hollywood's leading Jews openly espoused assimilation and the literal mixing of bloods as an American ideal.
Mayor Studios, Mr. Louis B. Mayer, an all-American in heart, in spirit, and in soul.
They called for the creation of a new human type, liberated from the past.
We gather here today not as Catholics, Protestants, or Jews. All of the ancient bloods have contributed to those who meet here today. This great country is itself the result of the unity of all of these ancient bloods. We are here as Americans.
This great radio program, sponsored by the motion picture industry, is intended to remind us all of the liberties and privileges with which we are blessed in this country. Let us now reaffirm the glory of Americanism, the greatest, the freest, and the happiest ism in all the world.
Calling the House Un-American Activities Committee to order, Chairman J. Parnell Thomas of New Jersey opens an inquiry into possible communist penetration of the Hollywood film industry. The committee is seeking to determine if Red Party members have reached the screen with subversive propaganda.
To the mogul's surprise, powerful men in Washington saw Hollywood's patriotism as nothing more than thinly disguised communism. Now, at the height of their success, the Hollywood Jews watched their dream fall apart. While economic factors played a role in their demise, it was the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, which really brought them down.
This committee, under its mandate from the House of Representatives, has the responsibility of exposing and spotlighting subversive elements wherever they may exist. That communists have made such an attempt in Hollywood, and with considerable success, is already evident.
With the advent of the Cold War, HUAC began persecuting Hollywood for the populist and pro-Soviet films the Roosevelt administration encouraged Hollywood to make during the Second World War.
Did you cook this dinner?
I did.
But you're a pianist. How can you let her do such work?
How can I let her? The question is, how can I stop her?
I would not be happy here on the farm if I did not do my share of the work.
No, but is it necessary that you drive a tractor?
It is a privilege to drive the tractor.
The committee is determined that the hearing shall be fair and impartial. We have subpoenaed witnesses representing both sides of the question. All we are after are the facts.
I should like to see what you have.
First came the mostly Jewish Hollywood talent, who stood up to HUAC.
Are you a member of the Communist Party? Next, you are going to ask what my religious beliefs are, and you are going to insist before various members of the industry that since you don't like my religious beliefs, I should not work in that industry.
There became an identification in people's minds with the things that went together: intellectuals, Jews, Russians, communists. If you look back at any of the depictions of what communists were, all of these things kind of get merged together in the public imagination.
The chairman of the committee, at the time that it initiated its investigation of Hollywood, was a vicious anti-Semite from Mississippi by the name of John Rankin. And Rankin said on the floor of Congress, I'm just going to read an excerpt from a speech he gave. He said, "Communism is the most dangerous influence in the world today. I am talking about the communism of Leon Trotsky." Of course, he mentions a Jew. "That is based upon hatred for Christianity." You know that communism. Remember that communism and Christianity can never live in the same atmosphere. Communism is older than Christianity. This is a revision of history, since Karl Marx, to most people's knowledge, is the one who created communism. But this communism, which is clearly a euphemism for Judaism, is older than Christianity. It is the curse of the ages. It hounded and persecuted the Savior during his earthly ministry, inspired his crucifixion, derided him in his dying agony, and then gambled for his garments at the foot of the cross.
But we are today in a deadly conflict between those two ideologies. And there can be no compromise.
Mr. Rankin,
in this country.
I hope that you're not impugning in any way the American activities of the motion picture employers in Hollywood.
I am some of them, I'll say.
Well, I want to tell you right now that there is no group of more American people in the country than are those in Hollywood. Well, I want to tell you some of the things they're doing.
Well, I know some of the things they're doing, and I know some of the things they're doing that probably you don't know. But I can tell you now, you need a house cleaning, and they need it very badly.
The question of communism is in no way related to this inquiry, which is an attempt to get control of the screen and to invade the basic rights of American
Chairman,
citizens.
Mr. Chairman.
It's not denied to any committee of this sort to invade the rights and privileges and immunities of American citizens, whether they be Protestant or Methodist or Jewish or Catholic, whether they will behind the least my affiliation.
with the American public, and they will know where I stand, as they do from what I have written. Stand away from the stand. For Americanism. Stand away from the stand. I'm just saying
Are you now? Have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? Have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
Your purpose is to use this to disrupt the motion picture industry, to invade the right not only of me, but of the producers, to their thoughts, to their opinions. And this I will not permit.
No. The President of the United States said that anti-communism was American policy. And that scared the shit out of them, because the last thing they wanted to be called was un-American. Having flirted with the idea of being Americans for so long, they began to believe that possibly they were.
I'm just hopeful, like I told you, Mr. Smith, in California, that perhaps out of this hearing, our Congress...
Now came the moguls, who were out to prove their American patriotism.
...question to give us a policy how to handle American citizens who don't deserve to be if they are communists, to get them out of our place.
Ideological terms, termites have burrowed into many American industries, organizations, and societies. Wherever they may be, I say, let us dig them out and get rid of them. My brothers and I will be happy to subscribe generously to a pest removal fund. We are willing to establish such a fund to ship to Russia the people who don't like our American system of government and prefer the communistic system to ours.
And you admit that or were communists or communist sympathizers in your own...
I don't know if they're communist sympathizers. I know they're un-American in their method.
In your studio, you mean?
In our studio.
Well, how do you mean un-American because they are communists, or un-American because they're fascists?
No, un-American because they endeavor to put certain things into scripts that, in my personal opinion, is un-American, and it's my business to see that it doesn't get in, if it eventually does creep in, I cut it out.
Well, there's very little difference, so whether a person is a communist or a fascist, so long as he's un-American, isn't that true?
I am not qualified to answer
But
that.
you admit, though, there are some people in your studio that are un-American.
Yes, I admit that.
The way the moguls buckled was the Cossacks are coming again. They were unsure of their status. A lot more unsure, say, than the next generation of who were writers, say, or directors or actors, who were born in America, and as I was, and had no confusion at all about being Americans. We were Americans and felt we had all the rights of Americans, and would fight for them when we could.
I am against. I'm for everything that you said.
You agree with that statement?
I agree wholeheartedly, and
The statement was a little long.
it was a very good statement. It's a statement of a real American.
To appease UAC, the moguls instituted a blacklist of studio talent. Years before, they had fled European anti-Semitism, but now in America, they became collaborators, helping anti-Semites rid Hollywood of Jewish intellectuals. In effect, they had surrendered control of the industry.
If you look at the main factors in what caused the moguls' decline, I think you have to look at them psychologically and not to external factors. After all these years of commanding these studios, HUAC and other factors demonstrated to them that all the things they had dreamt about, all the hopes that they had had, all the emotion that they invested into their assimilation were really empty.
It all seems so simple once. Live your life, do your work. As simple as all that. You find out it's not that easy. Nothing comes free. One way or another, you pay for what you are. Yeah.
After HUAC, the fight went out of the Hollywood Jews. They lost their hold on the studios they created. Like the Wizard of Oz, having been exposed as fearful refugees fleeing from themselves, they couldn't go on pretending to be moguls.
There are many here to whom I owe a great vote of thanks. And I have appreciation in my heart. Without their aid, their loyalty and devotion, I would not be standing here taking the bow.
He lived in 1957. He was fired in 1952. So the last 5 years of his life were heartbreaking. Very sad for me as a child to watch. Paced back and forth. Again, I don't want to extend the lion metaphor excessively, but all that energy was now confined to the home. I mean, that studio was his greater family, and he really couldn't bear it. And the pain was evident in his face, in his physical body language, in the anxiety in his voice, in his temper. It was just heartbreaking.
As he approached death, Mayer fell back on religion, but not Judaism. He took religious instruction from Fulton J. Sheen, the leading exponent of popular Catholicism. According to some, Mayer was prepared to convert. His daughter Irene told him that people would scream with laughter at the news. He began to fear that even after death, he would be rejected. In the end, he was buried a Jew. Harry Cohn died a year later. His Gentile wife was with him at the end.
Harry was in the ambulance, suffering from a massive heart attack, and was in pain, and he says, "Oh, Jesus Christ," because of the pain from this heart thing. So Joan says, Harry, my Harry, you found Christ, and so she converts him to Catholicism. Well, on the sarcophagus where Harry, there's a cross and a star on the sarcophagus. And if Harry knew that and knew what Joan did, he'd turn over in his grave.
Harry Warner also died in 1958 of a stroke following a bitter argument with his brother Jack. Jack spent his last years in the south of France, playing the gentleman's game of chemin de fer and palling around with faded members of European royalty. He died in 1978 from injuries he received after falling while playing tennis. Carl Laemmle did not live to see HUAC and the end of the studio era. He sold out his interests in Universal in 1936, spent his last years close to his grandchildren, and died in 1939. But Paramount's Adolph Zukor, the first mogul, lived on, becoming a venerated relic of the past.
His signature in cement, and then his hand and footprints. He is the first motion picture executive so honored. Alongside many screen immortals to whom he gave their first chance, go the imprints of Mr. Motion Pictures.
Promoting Horatio Alger's American Dream to the end. He died in 1976 at the age of 103.
In this blessed land, we can go as far as we want if we only put into practice Horatio Alger's deep and abiding faith in honesty, hard work, and decency. Horatio Alger knew that in the United States, every man can aspire to the stars.
The moguls are gone, but their vision survives. The America of Edison and Rankin has given way to an alien ideology. It isn't the communism or Judaism that the Gentile elite once feared. It's Americanism, as defined by Hollywood. The icons endure. The little guy fighting the odds, the pogrom imagery, the desperate desire to survive, and the various races assimilating to create the ultimate happy ending.
I'm not Jewish. Nobody's perfect.
A white middle-class president articulating the Jewish experience writ large. A new global religion, Hollywoodism.
Perhaps it's fate that today is the 4th of July, and you will once again be fighting for our freedom. Not from tyranny, oppression, or persecution, but from annihilation. We're fighting for our right to live, to exist. And should we win the day, the 4th of July will no longer be known as an American holiday, but as the day when the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
There was a Hollywoodism then. There's a Hollywoodism today. I would go further and say it is what is the ruling ideology of our culture. Hollywood culture is the dominant culture. It is the fantasy structure that we're all living inside.
God bless America, and that I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above, from the mountain to the prairie to the ocean, white with gold. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America,
Oh, Auntie Em, there's no place like home.
L'chaim.
Yeah, y'all see that shit? Check this out. We're gonna go to this. We're gonna go to something else real quick. I'm about to show you guys something, right? Because they said they created the film and they did all of this and so on and so forth. Peace says, I know they be blocking these notifications sometimes. Says they so rude. They so rude. But check this out. Now, we just saw the creation of the propaganda and Americanism and so on and so forth, blah blah blah. Yet, let's check this out. What is this all about? Let's see what this is all about, since they say they created all of this shit. And, the film, and, all of this comes from who, and blah, 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 this, and that. You feel me? When ain't they stole the legacy of anything? Everything that's created, everything that's the foundation, it comes from who? Us. It comes from who? Us. Right? Period. So let's show something real quick around the same timeline they're talking about, when a brother was putting them on game, letting them know about these homesteaders coming to town, letting them know about these homesteaders coming to town. Let's talk about Mr. Oscar Mitchell. Oscar Mitchell. Check this out about him. His birthplace, Metropolis, Illinois. The Metropolis, Illinois. Born January the 2nd of 1884. I'm doing two things, y'all. Let me give y'all some focus here. He died on April the 1st of 1951, caused a heart attack. Now, mind you, I ain't going to get into too much inclinations of this, but you guys know they have a machine that can give heart attacks. They can literally use you. They use an electronic ray that was a heart attack gun that they used around the same period. Keep that in mind. Biography. The most prolific Black, if not independent, filmmaker in America's cinema. Most prolific. Hold on now. Didn't we just hear a whole nother damn story with their propaganda? Because they came and knocked him out the way, right? So they can come in and influence us with their propaganda and bullshit that we just seen and read about, right? The most prolific black, if not independent filmmaker in American cinema, Oscar Mitchell wrote, produced, and directed nearly 40 feature films from about 1919 to 1948. That's a nice little timeline, ain't it? That's a nice little timeline. Despite his importance to black cinema, they say black, we say Negro cinema because we just heard them talking through everything. Everything was Negro. They didn't have a black cinema. They had a damn Negro cinema, right? We're going to say Negro cinema. Indian, indigenous, because he was already there. And if for him to be able to create film in the early 1919s, he had to have some bread, right? So he was from a very prosperous family, I would assume, right? An indigenous family. Let's talk about it. Mitchell remains an enigmatic and ignored figure. Few of his films have survived. In addition, his controversial racial beliefs and technical inferior films made him difficult. I hate when they do that. I want you to click a link. Click to another link. Why did they do that? Why did they cut it off? That was weird. Hold on a second, because there was more to this story, because I've read this before. Hold on. Why is it not showing everything? Let me go back down. Let's see. Maybe the page is acting weird. I'm not sure. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm not sure because it should be more to that article. Maybe I bypassed it, something with the link, who knows? But let's go on. Notes: only 10 of the 43 films, 27 silent. He made 27 silent films. I was going to do a build on this last year, and for some reason, some of my information was erased from my drive, but we won't get into that. Mitchell made are commercially available and the majority have been classified as lost prints of two silence. I'm sure they're lost, right? Two prints of two silence within our gates. 1919, the symbol at the unconquered 1920 were discovered and restored in the late 1990s. He made a film about the homestead, guys. Oh my gosh, the information I had on that. I'm going to try and dig it up again. I have not been able to search the information, but I will try again. But I was at least able to get information on so you guys could see the propaganda and the bullshit, right? Okay. I think of Mitchell as the black pioneer of American film, not because he was a black man. Now you see, they said it was all lost to the 1990s, so now they call him black. He was a Negro from their standards. He was a Negro man, or because in his youth he pioneered the American West. He pioneered the American West in his youth. Don't sound like an ex-slave to me, or family of a slaveman. Or because he was the greatest figure in race movies. Remember, I told you guys the Homestead. We're going to see if they get into some of the movies. And an unjustly ignored force in early American cinema. Mitchell, an American black pioneer in a way that Andrew Breton was Serialism's black pope. His movies throw our history and movies into an alien and startling disarray. Okay, so let's gander upon a few of these movies. Okay, the titles should be up here. Let's see. If not, we'll get to them. Let me see. Where is it? I know it's in here somewhere. Okay, maybe to read more is going to the film some more. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Okay, writing himself into history. Oscar Mitchell, his silent films and his audiences. Straight Lick, the cinema of Oscar Mitchell. Indiana University Press in 2000. This is not the films. Hold on, because I will be able to find the films. Let me see. This is talking about everyone that's talked about him, so on and so forth. Hold on. Let's go to his life events. Let me see if this is a continuation of the story I was trying to read to you guys, or at least tell the timeline of, what happened. Okay, yes. All right. Now, as you guys see, he wrote his first novel in 1908. It was called The Conquest. In 1916, he was approached by Noble and George Johnson, who wanted to purchase his screen rights to one of his novels, The Homesteader. This movie, The Homesteader. He did this film himself, though. He didn't allow them to purchase it. Let me check in the chat real quick. Now, you guys are seeing this hijack, right? How they tried to hijack the brother. How they tried to hijack our brother. We ain't gonna let that happen, are we? Y'all know we ain't gonna let that happen. We ain't gonna let that happen. Let's get to it. Let me see. Let me get to the chat. Yes, peace, peace, peace to everybody that's come in. All right. I want to see if anybody ever has said anything. Yes, never heard of him. Yes, I know a lot of people when I mention a name, a lot of times people like who, it's not a conversation that comes up. I'm not really a big movie buff, but this is definitely something I needed to bring to you guys' attention. Brother says it's the home of Superman Metropolis. Yep. Hannah's Casino. You already know they got the boats too. Superman's daddy is Khalil L. Okay. Mitchell's in your bloodline. Okay, bro. All right, you from the film industry. Yes, all they do, sis, they just love to lie, to lie, to lie, to lie, to lie, to lie. You already know. You already know, bro. We about to expose them. We can't let them play. We cannot let these people play with us because they do it too much. But we better than that. We better than that. Okay. All right, let's go. So then we see here in 1919, the feature directorial debut with the film version of The Homesteader. That's when it was created. It took him 3 years. Of course, he was getting things together, getting actors. They got the film, and he had the movie. And even though they tried to get the rights from him in 16, 3 years later, he had it popping. He had that movie out there. Feature director debut with the film version of The Homesteader, the first full-length feature produced by an American Negro. The first full-length feature produced by an American Negro, right? And we see that he started out early on. They tried to say these other people were doing it. So what happened? And remind you guys, he focused on race. You see, the first one was The Homesteader, right? The Homesteader. Then he had another one that was directed by Paul Robeson. It was called Body and Soul. Body and Soul. Then he had another one that was called, we see why his films were lost, right? The Exile, The Betrayal. Check it out. There were a few more. They don't have all of them here. But yeah, he had like 40 films, as they said earlier. So let's, I just wanted you guys to see the hijack, just so you could see that. So we about to get to something else real quick. I want to show you guys something else as well. Just to go along with, what we were just looking at. Give me 1 second to get this pulled up, and we will proceed. I got another important piece to this that I think is important. This is very short. It's a video we're going to listen to. It's 13 minutes long, so it's not going to take too much of our time, because I'm going to get into a little bit of a book read, guys, and I want to get some info and let you guys relax with it on your head, right? This is a good time. I said I need to try to do a few bills in the evening so that our people can go to bed with this and it's sitting on the brain. You feel me? Let's go. We about to get to it. Oh, I gotta unmute it, right? That would be smart.
All right. So you guys, man, I'm back. I know I've been slacking. I know that. But I'm back, man. Like I never left, right? I'm going to tighten up, you guys. I'm going to tighten up. All right, so today, man, we got Monique finally revealing the truth about Hollywood cloning celebrities. Now, this is all alleged news, but it's still, at the end of the day, spicy.
At that point, to be partially paralyzed and blind.
Jamie has been seen out and about as of late. Fans have been deeply concerned over Jamie's condition.
I want y'all to look at my neck. If y'all see another Monique and that neck ain't fat.
Are you saying that you think they take people out and clone them?
And then when you tell me your father's playing pickleball, give me a break.
You'd think you've seen the height of Hollywood's shenanigans, but then they come up with a new and even more bizarre one. In today's episode of Hollywood Going Overboard, word has just gotten out that cloning celebrities is what's hot on the block right now. And it seems Monique's the one letting the cat out of the bag today.
So it's, hold on, wait a minute, bro. It's hot on the block. That means they know about it. And if it's hot on the block, wow, that's crazy, bro.
Sounds
That's
like
crazy.
the stuff of movies, doesn't it? Well, hate to burst your bubble, but it's not. Proof, you ask? Let's just say one of Hollywood's biggest actors seems to have been exposed for not being the real thing. And here's a dark hint. Said actor just got out of the hospital after being sick for an extended period. Bet it's starting to add up now. Regardless, there are a lot of layers to this story, so stick with me here.
All the time. Yeah, I don't even think half these people on TV or whatever we're seeing there, I don't even think they're human.
In the current age and time,
she said she don't think they're
dismiss
human.
several concepts and conversations
Wow.
involving celebrities, regardless of how wild they are. Because these people are crossing every line out there, and right now cloning seems to be what's hot. In the past few months, people all over the world have been buzzing about certain celebrities acting or appearing slightly different than their normal selves. Earlobes, speech patterns, and face wrinkles have all been analyzed by people on the internet.
Facts, bro.
Kanye West, Elon Musk, and many other celebrities have even been called out on various social media platforms for allegedly cloning themselves to never end their lives of fame and fortune. But just how realistic are those internet claims?
Too much shit going on in the world.
He's been clowned.
They cloning people.
Oh, cloning technology is very real. In fact, I invented it, asserts German mad scientist Dr. Hudoism. The person who gets cloned actually is able to transfer their consciousness to their clone whenever they want, as I keep the clones stored safely in Area 51. The clone then allows the original person's consciousness to live on for another human lifetime. Theoretically, a person could just clone themselves over and over again until the end of time, but we haven't actually been able to prove that yet. When asked if anyone famous has been cloned by him, Decibel started to sweat a little. I have used cloning technology on a few people in Hollywood, the music industry, and even some world government officials. For legal reasons, though, I can't disclose specifically who. Well, it seems the cat is finally out of the bag about Hollywood, and people seem to think Jamie Foxx might be the latest clone roaming the world. One Twitter user posted, "This is weirdly true. Got a coworker that is 100% convinced that is a body double and the actual Fox is in a coma. His family is being silenced by the vaccine maker and the government. This is where we are now." You see, only 2 months ago, Jamie Foxx was reportedly rushed to a hospital after suffering an undisclosed medical condition.
That Jamie had a blood clot in his brain after he got the shot. He did not want the shot, but the movie he was on, he was pressured to get it.
In a statement attributed to the actor's family that was posted to his daughter's Instagram account, they wrote that the star had suffered a medical complication that required him to be taken to the hospital.
Okay.
He had been filming Back in Action in Atlanta with Cameron Diaz only days prior at the time. The family also said in the statement that Fox was now on his way to recovery, though they didn't reveal what medical issue he suffered. But a source described the issue to TMZ in more serious terms, calling it a medical emergency, though they said Fox was now communicating again. After over a month of radio silence from the Fox household, it was then reported that Jamie was suddenly back on his feet. But the actor wasn't taking walks in his estate. Oh no, he was spotted on yacht.
It's our birthday!
Jamie Foxx's road to recovery seems to be going very well, because the guy's out and about in public now, with TMZ getting the first glimpse of him since his hospitalization. On July 9th, 2023, Jamie Foxx was spotted on a boat in Chicago waving to passersby. He also appeared to be accompanied by a few others on board as well. And at first glance, it seems there were some members of his family around. And while this is great news for the world, most people on the internet don't seem to believe that is the real Jamie Foxx. And let's just say they haven't been subtle. One person tweeted, "That's what I said about this video floating around also on Twitter. This is not Jamie Foxx."
Bro, that's not
A second
Jamie,
user
bro.
with a similar point of view wrote, "I don't think it's him either, and why do they keep making up stories? I'm over it. I hope he is alive and well, wherever he is." It would have been easy to write these people off as crazy, but the problem is that Jamie was rushed to a hospital and stuck there for over a month, with some people even thinking he had died. Then we don't hear anything for weeks, and suddenly the man is back on his feet and cruising on a yacht. Doesn't seem to add up, don't you think?
Nah, it don't add
Jamie Foxx,
up.
by the way, is everywhere in Chicago. Yeah, I mean, the guy is just everywhere.
But on the flip side, some other people have a different view of everything that's happening with Jamie. One user wrote, "Not the anti-vax folks saying Jamie Foxx has been cloned." Other people just simply wrote it off as good old conspiracy theories. As was the case with this other person that wrote, "They saying Jamie Foxx has been cloned. You conspiracy crabs are insufferable." But in reality, there have just been way too many coincidences in this whole Jamie Foxx story for it to simply be conspiracy theorists at work. And I'll tell you why. Don't you think it's weird that ever since the actor was reported to have left the hospital, he hasn't made one video to appreciate his fans for their prayers and support?
Exactly.
But we'll pick that back up later. If all of the undeniable details about Fox aren't convincing enough for you, how about his coworker confirming it? Monique, an actress and a comedian, has recently spoken about the horrors of the industry and how celebrities constantly get kidnapped.
You think they take people out and clone them and put a robot in their place?
Well, this is what I'm saying. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing.
In fact, she made it a point
Wow.
to give an example
Wow.
of how if any part of her physical appearance is changed, fans should pick up on the change and maybe try to look for the real her.
I want y'all to look at my neck. I got a fat neck. You see that, Roseanne?
I do. Look at mine. It's all
Right.
wrinkled.
If y'all see another Monique and that neck ain't fat.
These words came from somebody that has been in the music industry for many
Dang,
years.
bro.
And if with their experience, they're saying something like this could happen to them, do you really think it's far-fetched that Jamie Foxx might be a victim of Hollywood's dark side? I'll leave you to answer that.
I don't know what they're doing. What I know is our eyes, it's like you almost saying, are my eyes deceiving me? Am I saying what
Apart from the slew of irregularities about the details of his health not being released all while he was at the hospital, there is also the fact that the actor's daughter actually lied about his condition a while back. According to reports, on May 12th, Corinne Foxx...
That mean the clone wasn't ready just quite yet. That's what that means. She's in the cahoots with it too. When she said my dad is playing pickleball and he's healthy and all that, they thought the clone was gonna be ready, but the clone wasn't ready yet. Dang,
revealed
bro.
that her dad was out of the hospital and recuperating. Corinne posted a message to her Instagram story Friday, writing, "Update from the family. Sad to see how the media runs wild. My dad has been out of the hospital for weeks, recuperating. In fact, he was playing pickleball yesterday. Thanks for everyone's prayers and support," she continues. In fact, he was playing pickleball yesterday. However, word eventually got out that the actress had given the world some inaccurate information because news outlets...
And bro, out of everything, bro, I don't even know what pickleball is, bro. And Jamie played on any given Sunday as a football actor. If he's gonna play any sport, it'd probably be tag or some type of football with non-contact. Not pickleball, bro. What is pickleball?
and other insiders actually confirmed that Jamie was in fact still at the hospital. And to put the icing on the cake, Corinne was also reported to have deleted the post shortly after. Seems a little suspicious, wouldn't you agree? But even besides the lies, there was also another odd thing that indicated things might not be as they appear. You see, when word first started to spread that the Jamie Foxx we're seeing may not actually be the person that went into that hospital, a trailer for a new movie with Jamie got released, and guess what the movie's called? They cloned Tyrone.
They cloned Tyrone,
As
exactly.
the name implies, the movie is basically about how people were getting cloned and their originals getting replaced by the clone. Rather convenient timing for a film like this, isn't it? In fact,
That's crazy.
in an Instagram comment supposedly left on a Shade Room post on the 13th of July, The multi-hyphenate dismissed reports of his less than stellar status while also plugging his new Netflix film. They didn't clone me, but they cloned Tyrone, he wrote, referring to the upcoming dark satirical comedy that also stars John Boyega and Kiefer Sutherland. See you July 21st, only on Netflix. I'm no detective, but everyone can sense that something definitely isn't right with all of this. That's it for this video. Goodbye.
Oh yeah, we all gonna be tuning into that, right?
Crazy, right? That's crazy. Hold on. Let me show y'all this book real quick. Real quick. We ain't gonna be too much longer, but I'm gonna get into a few little brief things tonight. Maybe let me start with this instead of the book. Hold on a second. I wanna put something up here. I'm not gonna get into that one, but I'm gonna just show this. For my brother. Earlier, my brother was like, sis, come on now, I don't know about that sun, blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to show this pattern real quick to anybody that's doubting what I was telling you guys. Because, like, I'm not going to tell you guys shit. I don't just talk about stuff and make it up, guys. I mean, I literally don't do that. I'm only going to tell you about things that I'm sure of, right? Here's the patent right here. The illumination system, including a virtual light source patent. Illumination system designed for use as sunlight simulator. A sunlight simulator. If you know what a simulator is, come on. A sunlight simulator in space environment simulators with multiple light sources reflected to single out the virtual source. What they say? Document number. Here it is. Bausch and Lomb in Rochester, New York, the United States, right? Ascension number. Work of the United States government, public use permitted. NASA, the creator. NASA Technical Reports Server. You guys get this? Literally. This is the fake sun that I keep telling you guys that they've been launched. Mind you, this is a new simulator that they use. They've been did it back in March of '66. But they have a new simulator they've been using that's more advanced now. Do you guys see this? I mean, did you guys think I was making this up? I want to know if you guys thought I was making this up, like for real. Somebody put in the chat if y'all thought I was just making that shit up. Sis just talking. Come on, y'all know I ain't gonna just be talking. Let me show you something even more phenomenal. Let me show you this. I talked about this before too. I'm gonna pull this up because when I was looking for this patent, this came up with my information from a build I did a while back when I was telling people about this project that was created, and Procter & Gamble played a part. If you guys remember, we were watching it, and they said Procter & Gamble, and you guys know Eastern, that the Eastman Kodak company is the biggest film company, and they also played a part in what? The Corona project. You guys see this, right? I hope y'all can see this. I'm going to read a little bit of it real quick. Corona was the nation's first photo reconnaissance. I don't even know what this word. It's not recognized. I don't even know what this is. Reconnaissance satellites operating from August of 1960. This is 6 years prior, 1960 until May of 1972. The program was declassified at the request of the Central Intelligence Agency of February of 1995. The index of the declassified Corona, Argon Energy. I talk to you guys about it all the time. Argon and lanyard records are available. Corona Star Catchers, Intelligence Revolution of 1960. I'm going to get into this bill one day, but I wanted to just show you guys that. Let me get a little bit into the story, and then we'll do a build on this particularly because there's a lot of information. I have to show you guys how Kodak was tied into it. I have to show you guys how Procter & Gamble was all a part of it, you know. And as you guys see, the theatrics, when you're looking at theatrics, right? You guys know that propaganda is made to prop up gander in your mind. You know, you gander, you thought. You know, you'd be like, you ever heard an older person, they'll say, oh, gander on the thought. You gander on the thought. So think about propping a gander, propping a thought, putting a picture in your mind. This is brain mapping that I talk to you guys about all the time. The wave formatting, you know, how they create things, you know, and put the idea or picture in your mind. I worked for this company actually. I worked at Eastman Kodak Company for some years, did a couple of projects for them. Actually, even resetting their purchasing department, paying bills that these dummies ain't paid for like 13 years. They had bills they hadn't paid for 13 years when I came to clean up their purchasing department in Building 23 some years back. Imagine a big company like this owing people 13 years ago. Y'all ain't paid these people for 13 years, all the money y'all got. Like, when I tell y'all these people evil as hell and demons, like, for real. Let me check on my chat real quick before I get into this. White pickle from farm. What are you talking about, bro? I think I saw it early, but I was browsing through the comments. What is a pickleball? Yeah, what is a pickleball? I'm not even familiar with that. I'm not sure. Yes, you know it, bro. I'm gonna make sure y'all get it. We gonna go to some real info. We ain't gonna be playing around, wasting y'all time, just talking about shit. None of that. I'm gonna make sure y'all gonna, get some edification. Get something that's gonna get you full. Yes, brother, you already know. NASA, Satan. They wish they had a damn NASA. They wish they could take their ass to damn space. Shit, they could barely contain and maintain the space they in without simultaneously combusting. Right now, they kind of going through that shit, ain't they? Ain't that what they kind of going through? That's why they putting this fake sun out, because they trying to, block out our real sun because their energy is too powerful. Because they want to give us something low. They want to give us a low frequency fake ass sun that they create, so that we're not picking up on the correct electromagnetism, right? Because we're the ones that are supposed to be accepting this energy, this true energy, because we are a part of that same nature. But what they're doing is creating the GMO. They coming with the GMO sun. I just showed it to you guys. A whole entire illumination system that was invented as the virtual light source. They have the whole patent since 1960. So the technology that they keep changing, they have advanced it like 3 times. I'll try and pull it up when I do the corona, so I can show you guys some pictures of it. When you can see this reflector. I've shown it in pictures I've done with my Sky Talk videos. Anyone that's watched my Sky Talk videos, I've showed you guys the Blu-ray. Literally, my camera picked it up a few times, and I got like 6 different pictures showing the Blu-ray, showing that it was actually showing the projection that it was giving of the sun. This is how I knew about the fake sun. This what made me look into it. Generally, like yeah, this shit real out here. Y'all think we playing around, and these damn people using all type of shit against you. Period. Giselle, you seen them, brother. I showed them Blu-rays on them pictures. Come on, y'all. All right, look at this. So here we go. Center for the Study of National Recognition. I don't know what this is. Recognition classics. I don't know what that word is, guys. I'm sorry. It deters me when I am kind of confused. Y'all see it right there. There it goes. It really deters me. But I'll worry about it later. I'll look it up. It's not that important now. It's some shit they made up. But check it out. Look. Y'all see what they got on here? They so-called love. Y'all know that's that NASA picture, right? Try to act like it ain't, but look. Check it out. Y'all see it. We ain't gonna go through this whole thing, but I want y'all to see the Corona project. They even brought it up. This is the whole PDF that they did on this. More recent, like 10 years ago. Everything. A whole 195 pages on this Corona project talking about it. United States government developed the Corona photo satellite reconnaissance. I should look it up because I'm getting tired of seeing it. System initially as a program to fill the intelligence void left by the anticipated suspension of the UT overflights of the Soviet Union. Which actually occurred after the downing of Gary Powers' aircraft in May of 1960 and the inability to deploy an operational SAMUS television-based satellite program. Television-based photographic satellite program. Do y'all see how this all ties in? Do y'all see this? Y'all know I ain't playing with y'all. I don't want to get too much into this because this is a whole shitload of information I have to go over with you guys. But I wanted you guys to see that. Exactly. The crowning of the mind, the crowning of your mind, the propaganda with the movie, the film, all of that, guys. You guys don't understand what's going on at Kodak, right? There is what do they call it? I can't remember. It's some type of black liquid stuff that they use with the film, right? I worked in this department. They used to send me to all type of places, different departments to do things. I was in this department for about a month and a half, 2 months. We had to go through a whole training on all the chemicals, like dangerous kill you shit. Like people literally have died in this place, in this particular department with these chemicals, acid, all type of stuff. The chemical that they used was so dangerous, right? And using it for the film, you had to have a whole training for it. Now, when they had the film, when they had the training for this stuff, I'm looking at this these things and then something fast forwarded, right? It just made me think of all the stuff that they be doing. When it came to the vax, if you guys can remember, Kodak was a part of that as well. Now, did anybody question why is Kodak, a film company, being a part of the vaccine? The jab. Why was Kodak a part of the jab? It all plays a part into it. We're going to get into that another time as well, because I want to share something else with you guys. Hold on a second. We're going to go a little bit all over right quick, because this is quick. I ain't going to read this whole thing, but I just want to show you guys something when they talking about some of these stories. It'd be hilarious to me sometimes, right? How they can lie. Lie. Reconstruction, exactly. Construction of the cons. All right. Now, I want you guys to see this. I ain't gonna even read too much of this book. I just want this one particular part for you guys to see. Okay. Hold on a second. All of them were going in the direction of the rooms occupied by the master. Not that important of a part, but I'm just going to read from the top of the page. What is the matter? Asked Arviragus, much surprised. The German is going to be a freedman, replied the interpreter. The German is going to be a freeman. But wait a minute. In order for the German to be a freedman, not a freeman, you see it says a freedman. It doesn't say freeman. It says the German is going to be a freedman. What do you say? Exclaimed the young Briton. Can a slave recover his freeman? What you say? The slave was the German that became the freeman. So when they tell you that story about you were the freeman or you became free, they're talking about them, right? We know everything is in reverse. So when you hear these stories about the freedmen, who is the freedman? The freedmen were the Germans, the so-called Jewish, all of these different people that came in and they tried to tell you it was you. The German is going to be made a free man, replied the interpreter. What do you say? Exclaimed the young Briton. Can a slave recover his freedom? Yes, when he pays for it. And how can a slave possibly get enough money for that purpose? By imitating this barbarian, who for some years has taken only one meal instead of two. He regularly sold the half of his diarium, has worked half the night, and has made the best possible use of the small profits by adding penny to penny. He has succeeded at last in amassing a peculium of 6,000 sesterces, with which he has paid for his enfranchisement. Coming out of the franchise, the corporate structure, the construction of the citizenship that put him in the corporate structure, servitude, because he was a beast before this, from what they said, right? He was a barbarian. By imitating the barbarian who for some years have taken one meal instead of two. He's skipping back so he could pay his way out of servitude, out of slavery. The German slave. That's totally off topic, but I just want to throw that in there real quick. Hold on. Just to show you, where these people come from. They continue to fool you with this nonsense, right? But let's get to some other stuff real quick, because I'm not gonna be much longer. But I definitely want to show a little bit more to you guys, just so you can go to sleep with a little bit more information on your head. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Let's check this out. Let's check out the Negro population from 1790, right? When we're looking at the Negro population, the center of Negro population, there was a center of Negro population. I'll pull it up, get into that book another time. But this was from the Center for Negro Population, 1790, 1890, and 1910. Geographical distribution and increase. Population by the states, the Negroes and whites at each census from 1790 to 1910. Indian and other. Did they say Indian? They said Negro, whites, and Indians. You guys see this? Let me check with the chat. I know I'm bouncing all over the place. I want to make sure y'all with me. Y'all with me? Y'all falling asleep? We were about to get ready to get up out of here, guys. Yeah. Freedmen, yes, the freedmen, the slave. That was more just another document showing who the slaves were. A barbarian man, a barbarian German, a germ man, a Teuton. Yes, a barbarian Teutonic germ man. Period. So, check this out, guys. Let's look at this census here. I'm going to try and zoom in a little bit more for you guys. Let's see. I don't have to overtake the page, but I want you guys to see it. Okay. You guys can see the geographical, information they have here. In 1910, let's look at, we're going backwards. This is 1910. In New England, Mid-Atlantic, East North Central, West North Central, South Atlantic, the East South Central, West South Central, the mountains, and the Pacifics. The total number of people here, the Negro, in the United States, there were 827,776. Of whites by 1910. This is the time that of the same. Keep in mind, this is the timeline, guys, for these Jews. This is the timeline of the Jews. The same thing they were just showing you with those films from 1911. Check this out. The whites, 81,731,957. Indians, 265,683. Do y'all see this? Now, mind you, these are just documented Indians. Keep in mind, all of our people did not document or complete the census even at this time. But I want you guys to see this. 1910, so we're going 10 years back. The total number of Negroes was 8,833,000. The total number of whites was only 66,806,000. Look, went from 66 to 81. 15 million people in 1 year were brought over. We went over it many times. I've shown you guys the immigrants that have come over, the names, the numbers, all of that. We've done books on this since last year. So look at this. This is proof. 15 million in 1 year. The Negroes, they decreased by 1 million in that 10 years time, but they increased. They decreased 15. They decreased 15. The whites, the Indians, is saying here only decreased about 30,000. Y'all see, very small number for the Indians that decreased around this time. It goes into New England. We'll go over this another time as well, but I want you guys to just see this, right? Let's go down. Hold on a second. I'm going to show you. Now let's look at 1890. 1890, 55,101 whites, 6,580,000 Negroes, and they don't even have the information for the Indians. Why? What happened to the Indians? How did they just disappear? Now, I want to know, because the Indians, what are they talking about? Natives? Are they, so on and so forth? Let's go back a little bit more. See, 18, 17. They don't have no Indians in here. Why was Indians only put into classification in the 1900s? Around the same time they started all their propaganda. Do y'all see that? We're gonna get into this. I ain't gonna. I'm not gonna get to the whole topic of the matter, but I want you guys to see this, the timelines, especially with what was going on with the theatrics, the propaganda, these movies, so on and so forth. See this, 1790, so on and so forth. Now we're gonna go down. Hold on. Look, Negroes, natives, foreigners. And then here they have Chinese, Japanese, and all others. They had a timeline here. This is 1790 to 1910, and these are sections and divisions of the 1910 census. What happened to those Indians that they had in 18? Now they're what? Native. You see that? You see they turned native? You guys see that, right? They tried to classify Negroes and natives, natives and Negroes, Negroes and natives. Do y'all see the quick switcheroo? I want to just throw that in there as far as the timeline, right? I'm going to get into that definitely another day, guys. It's a little late. I definitely want to make sure that I went over some of this information with you guys. I try to do a little at a time. Me and Empress have a particular build coming up, so Thursday. So I wanted you guys to be able to see a little of this as well. And I'm hoping that you guys understood the significance of this. Like literally. Literally. Oh, it said it increased. Hold on, bro. Let me go back. Maybe I did. I'm a little tired. I told you. It said they increased. Okay, when I do the build on it, I'll make sure I go over that a little more thoroughly. So they did increase, but then they turned them to natives, as you've seen yourself for yourself. um, propaganda, propaganda. I hope you guys enjoyed this build. Peace, love, and bliss. You already know, guys. Until next time, when we come in to get a little bit of grub, get you guys full. Y'all know how I do. Peace, love, bliss, and I am out. Y'all have a great rest. Soar high and dream big.